Okay, here we go. We're gonna make some bread and butter pickles. First thing you do is slice the cucumbers. I sliced them about 1/4 of an inch thick. I have about a dozen cucumbers there. And you don't really need the slicer, but I have one, so I decided I'm going to use it. I want them all uniform sizes. So there we go. We're going to slice these things here. Pickles are actually a very easy thing to make. The ingredients are like 4 or 5 ingredients. That's it. And the hardest part about making pickles is waiting for them to be done. In other words, after you can them, after you put them in the jars, you have 4 to 6 weeks to wait. That's the hardest part about them. Everything else is pretty damn easy. I suppose you could eat them on the same day. I suppose you could, but they're not going to be as good as if you waited 4 to 6 weeks. All right, now we have the pickles. Now we're going to use 1 small onion and a little bit of another onion, so it comes out to about 1 medium onion, sliced really thin. This has to be thin. There, you can see how thin they are. They're nice. They're perfect. Okay, and there's a couple more slices there of another onion. All right, that's it. Okay, now you've got the pickles and the onions, and also you should use a glass jar. I like using glass because it's very easy to clean. If you're using a wooden bowl, oh man, forget that. You're going to have bacteria all over the place, even though you think you washed it. All right, now here goes 1/4 cup of coarse salt. They recommend coarse, not table salt. The reason for the salt is, what the salt does is it draws the liquid out of the cucumbers. So if you draw the liquid out and then you replace the liquid with another liquid, it can absorb that liquid. You know what I'm saying? Like, in other words, if you squeeze the water out of the cucumbers and then you add them into the vinegar and the sugar and the seeds and all that, then it can be absorbed back into the pickles. All right, so there's sliced cucumber, sliced onion, 1/4 cup of table salt, and now you're going to put in some what they call cracked ice. Okay, what I did was I put this ice cube tray in the freezer for about, I don't know, maybe an hour, and it started to freeze. All right, then I took it out. Now I'm going to add the liquid and the ice into the bowl. I know the reason why you add the salt, but why you add the ice, I don't have a clue. I don't know. I just don't know. I never looked it up. I suppose I could. I suppose I should, but I'm not gonna. Anyway, okay, now you want to put a plate on top of the cucumbers and then put a weight on top of the plate. You want to weight it down. That'll help squeeze the liquid out of the cucumbers. All right, there we go. We're going to weight it down with a bottle of Fireball. That'll work. Okay, so now we're going to get ready to do the liquid. The pickling spice and all that. Okay, now here's what you do. You need 2 cups of sugar. However, I used 1 cup of sugar and 1 cup of stevia. Stevia is a plant that they extract this sugar type stuff out of it, and it tastes like sugar. It really does. It's pretty good. All right, so there goes the sugar. There goes the stevia right there. All right, and now we're going to add 2 cups of cider vinegar. I actually add 2 cups and a little splash. I like vinegar. It's good. All right, there, and a little splash. Pink. Okay, bye-bye. All right, now here comes the seeds. You need 1 teaspoon of celery seed. That's 1 teaspoon of celery seed. Then you need 3/4 of a teaspoon of turmeric. All right, 3/4. So I'm going to put in a half and then a quarter of turmeric. All right, then at the end, you're going to need 1 tablespoon of mustard seed. And that's it. That's all you need. So there goes the quarter. Here comes the half teaspoon. No, actually, that was the quarter. The half I put in first. So that's 3/4 turmeric, 1 of a teaspoon, 1 teaspoon of celery seed, and 1 tablespoon of mustard seed. That's it. There is no more ingredients to this. That's the end. All right, now what happened here was the cucumbers shrunk down because the liquid's coming out of them, and the plate didn't fit anymore. The plate was resting on the bowl, so I'm going to put a smaller plate on there and then put the fireball back on top. There you go. All right, now you have to let this sit for 3 hours. The cucumbers, they have to sit for 3 hours in that liquid with the salt. That's going to draw all the, well, not all, but a lot of the liquid out of the cucumbers. All right, now we're going to put the spices and vinegar on the stove and let it heat up. All right, now listen, this is very important. Do not, once you add the pickles to that vinegar mixture, do not let it boil, okay? All you want to do is bring it up to a boil and then stop it before it boils. All right, here we go. This is 3 hours later. Look at all this liquid in here. And that's not just from the ice. You know, that's a lot of liquid. All right, now we're going to drain that off. At this point, you can take the onions out if you want. I'm not going to mess with it and taking them out. I'm leaving them in there. You know, I mean, I'm sure they'll be just as good as the pickles will when it's all done. You know. All right, so we're draining the water. We're going to add the water to the seeds and the sugar. That stuff it's a little bit warm. The vinegar mix. I put it on the stove for a little while just to melt all the sugar. The sugar was on the bottom. All right. Now, listen, again, the hardest part about making these pickles is the wait time. I mean, you got to wait 4 to 6 weeks. That's crazy. But, you know, I mean, that's how you do it. Okay, so all the water's drained out of that bowl, and now I'm adding the cucumbers to the vinegar concoction there. You know, pickles are, the recipes are so wide open. You can do anything you want. You know, at this point I could add garlic to it, and you know, make like a half a dill pickle, half a bread and butter pickle. You know, I mean, there's so many different things you can do. It's not funny. But anyway, if you notice, that's not a lot of liquid there. That's just barely covering the tops. Okay, all right, now it goes on the stove. You do not want to boil it. Okay, this is my handy dandy little deep fryer thing. I do everything in this, man. It boils pasta, it cooks shrimp, it deep fries onion rings. You know, I mean, you can do anything in here. I bought this thing for like 12 bucks. It is so versatile. It's not even funny. This thing is great. I love it. All right, anyway, what I'm going to do is okay, now look, the pickles just came off the stove. They did not boil, but you can see they're hot. The reason why you don't boil them is because if you boil them, the membrane that holds the seeds in is going to start to break down. And if it breaks down, you're going to end up with cucumbers with a big hole in the middle, and your seeds are floating everywhere, you know? So you don't want to let it boil, that's for sure. Do not let it boil. Otherwise, you're going to be real sorry. But you do want to heat it up. You definitely want to heat it. Right before it boils, that's when you take it off. You can see there's steam coming off of them, so you know it's hot. It just hasn't boiled. All right, so we're going to put them in the jars. By the way, the jars, what you can do is put them into the oven. First, you wash them and dry them, and then put them on a cookie sheet and put the oven at 225. All right, and then put the put the jars on the cookie sheet and then put them in the oven for about 10 minutes. After that, they're completely sanitized. I mean, there's nothing, you know, there's no bacteria that can live at 225. Nothing can live at 225. All right. I mean, water boils at 212. So it's a little bit hotter than boiling water. Okay, so we're just going to fill them up. Like I said, you don't fill them all the way. You only want to... I mean, the pickles you can go as high as you want. But the liquid, I'll show you here in a minute when I put the liquid in. The liquid you don't want to fill all the way to the top. And the reason for that is the liquid is going to expand as it gets hot. You know, water does that. Water is a very strange element. It expands when it gets hot, and it expands when it gets cold. It's like one of the only things that does this. So what you want to do is you want to fill them up about 1/4 of an inch from the top with the liquid. Okay, yeah, by the way, that's the liquid we cooked them in, and now we're going to add the liquid back to the pickles. And we're going to end up boiling the pickles in that water once the lid is on. We're going to boil them for 10 minutes. And what's going to happen is the lid is going to pop up. It's going to be convex. And then as it cools, the lid will go down. And it'll create the seal. The seal is what you're looking for. All right, here we go. Now, the lids are on tight. The water is going to be boiling here in a second, as soon as I plug it back in. And you want to boil them for 10 minutes. You could see the lid. You could see the dome. You see the dome on the lid of the pickles? Well, it's going to be like that until the pickles cool. And then the dome sinks in. And that, like I say, that creates the seal. But you have to have a little bit of space in the jar, so don't fill them all the way up to the top with the liquid. All right, now we're going to let these boil for 10 minutes. There you go. I just set a timer. And after the 10 minutes, that's it. You're good to go. All right, here we go. They've boiled now. This is 10 minutes later. Okay, I turn the temperature down. All right, now I'm going to pour the water out and let them cool. They're done. Now, here's the hard part. 4 to 6 weeks. Oh, man, you're kidding me. Holy moly. I want to open one up right now so bad. But I'm not gonna. I'm gonna wait. All right, anyway. Now I got to drain the water out. Drain the water off of the jars, you know, out of the deep fryer. And then we're just going to let them cool. Okay, here they come. Like I said, there's nothing to it. You know, a lot of people don't can stuff anymore because they're scared. You know, they don't know what they're doing. But this is so easy, man. Now, you could put those in the pantry, and I bet you they'd be good next year. Completely sanitized, sealed, and everything else. They're going to last for a long, long time. You could see the color of them has changed dramatically. They were, you know, green and white. Now they're kind of a yellowish green, olive drab color. All right, listen. You might be able to find this at the county fair, some old lady making some pickles. But I guarantee you one thing. You won't find it any better than this right here. Damn it. All right. I'll see you later. I got to go. I got to eat.